We've even got it plugged in where if you ask it, how do I make tacos? It goes, I don't know how to make tacos. No one's ever talked about that here. So we've told our AI that if it can't cite the source on where it got that, just say, I don't know. I'd rather you say, I don't know the answer, and we can ask the community. And the next time it comes around, we'll have a good answer than just make something up.
Hey everyone, I'm Todd Nilson and I've been working as a community strategist since 2013. I'm starting a new video series where I'm walking through community platforms with the people who build them. But here's what makes this different. These aren't your typical marketing demos. Community platforms are a major investment. In each of these episodes, you'll get a real walkthrough of a platform with someone who knows it inside and out. But you'll also get my perspective as someone who's been through dozens of platform evaluations and launches. Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. So let's figure out which community platforms are actually worth your time. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you may happen to be. You've tuned into Clocktower Advisors, talk about your community and our special series on platform demos. And today I'm excited to welcome to the show Greg Pollack, VP of Sales Engineering for HireLogic. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Todd. Great to be here.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about one of HireLogic's two platforms, and this one is Thrive, which is really the platform that I guess the ideal client profile is someone in the association space. Is that right?
I think that's the easiest way to explain it. However, we do certainly have large corporations like IBM who are leveraging Thrive as their platform, yes.
Excellent, excellent. Greg, how long have you been with HireLogic? Tell us a little bit about your origin story.
Yeah. So I've been with HireLogic for about 8 years now. My origin story is I'm a community person from way back in the day. When I was in college, like Facebook was getting launched to universities for the first time. I was a dig.com member, if you remember that. When it was a social media platform, I was a Redditor. I started my YouTube channel before YouTube was cool. I'm a social media nerd at heart. And the idea that I can love social media and community platforms in my personal life and do it in my professional life is just really appealing to me. I love technology as well. So hopefully you'll see today I'm a technology nerd, but I also think strategy and business are equally important for success. So what I love about HireLogic is we not only have the technology, we also bring strategy to the table on how should I launch a community to achieve those goals I'm looking for, right? Because no one does something for pure, we want to run a community. We do it for business goals. That's most of the time. Somebody's got to pay for this thing.
Absolutely, it's got to connect, and I love your orientation. You were there when the foundations of the deep magic was laid. So I love that.
My famous celebrity sighting is I met Kevin Rose, one of the founders of dig.com, in the Las Vegas airport in between Dig version 2 and 3. And if you're a historian, Dig version 3 was where they stopped supporting their influencers and paid influencers kind of took over. And I saw the preview of it and I wish I said, Kevin, don't do that. So missed opportunity back then.
Oh well. Well, glad you are where you are today. HireLogic has been, I'd say, one of the bedrock organizations in the community platform space for many years. I don't know if you want to say a few words about the history of HireLogic, or what the orientation or mission of the company is.
Yeah, so our founding was in 2007, and we've been exclusively focused on building communities ever since. The mission of HireLogic is pretty simple. We want to engage the member of the community as much as possible for the benefit of the member, for the benefit of the industry at large, and for the benefit of that organization who's sponsoring the community. We also secretly really love data. So if engaging the member is important, collecting the data on that engagement and leveraging that data is a really important piece as well. All of our founders have community and association backgrounds. We're all in the technology industry, and our primary goal is to be the leading community platform out there.
Amazing. Well, I'm grateful for the time. As you know, the purpose of this series is to get a little bit deep into the platforms. And so we're going to get into the screen share here in just a second. I think one last question before we start, just to dig a little bit into what the Thrive platform does in the association space. As an ideal client platform, is there like a certain size of association that is well suited, to you guys as a customer? And then I'm also kind of interested in if there's one or two edge case companies that you've worked with that maybe might spark the imagination of someone else who's not in the association space but still wants to look at Thrive as a potential solution for what they do.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think one of the goals of Thrive is to be sticky with the members of the community. One of our litmus tests is, do you want to have a conversation with these people on a daily or weekly basis? Do you want to be a part of that conversation? And if the answer is yes, our members should be a part of that conversation, Thrive's a great fit. So we work with everybody from large organizations. I mentioned IBM is one of our larger customers. ASAE powers a community called Collaborate. We also work with very small organizations. So we work with organizations who have 2 to 3 staff, and their goal is to have an online community. I work with an organization called the Retail Bakers of America. And you hear that name and you're like, this is a massive organization. They have 4 staff, and they use us for their member community. They use us for their events. They use us for their full website. And they use us for lots of technology. Educations I love. Some of my favorite are the weird ones out there. One I love is called Kids Garden. It's not an association. It's just a group of people who want to empower kids to garden more. I love the idea that even exists.
That is
Right?
phenomenal. I love that. Yeah, amazing.
You can imagine what they're talking about in their community.
Right. Well, thanks for the overview of those. Why don't we go ahead and dive right in? If you want to do a screen share, we'll go ahead and get that up on the screen here. There we go. Okay.
Awesome. So what you're seeing on the screen is my demo site of Thrive, and I'm logged in as Greg, the member here.
You know what? I think maybe if we could start out with any of the features that you've heard customers say have really stood out for them, or that helped them make the decision that Thrive was the right platform for them to go with.
Yeah. So I sort of boil those down into 3 major buckets: the look and feel of the UI and interface, how easy it is for members to use, and how easy it is for staff to use. The second one is the AI features that we're baking into the software we think are very important to help the association, the company, be successful running their community, but also just help the member get an answer when they have a question, right? Oftentimes I come to a community because I just need to know something. And then the third piece that I love is the automation built into our software that helps alleviate that idea that a person every minute of every day has to be thinking about and running the community. Many of these things we want to set and forget. So I'll quickly go over all 3 of those for you. One is Thrive features this social media style interface where I'm logged in as Greg, the member. I see a feed of content that's personalized and relevant to me. And this could be anything from the latest video we just published you want to watch in the feed, calls to action to get involved. We're looking for some of our members to share testimonials about why they love us, highlighting things we care about, like discussions, the ability to have blogs. Here's a job opportunity in Maryland. I live in Maryland. Sales training. I'm literally in sales training. There couldn't be a better job posting for me inside of a community, pulling people together for events. We really want to create this sticky interface that drives people here on a regular basis. And if you've ever been a part of a Thrive community, you're probably familiar with something we do really well, which is a daily or a weekly digest of things you care about. The idea is not every member wakes up every day and goes, I wonder what's happening with that organization I'm a part of, right? So we take that content to them. So if you're curious, as Kristen is here, on how do you define member engagement, this comes right to your inbox. And I know how to define member engagement. I can just click reply and reply right back to her from email. Just like that listserv we used to have back in the 90s that we loved.
Yep.
Frictionless engagement is a key part of what makes HireLogic successful. Bringing those conversations, whether it's a daily or a more popular is a weekly summary, right? So every week I get Hug Buzz. This is what's happening to my community. What are people talking about? When are the events I need to go to? Who's talking about those things? What's happening inside my community? Summaries like that can come to me on a regular basis.
And Greg, the Hug Buzz, for those who maybe don't know about it, that's the HireLogic user group, correct?
Yes. So we not only run communities, we have our own very popular community. So Hug is our community for our customers to come talk about how do you run a community, or what's going on, or watch that new video of a product release, or submit an idea on something we should add to the product. So we drink our own champagne, and our community is a very active community of community managers like you watching.
I can attest to that. It's a platform that I regularly keep an eye on, and it's one of the thriving spaces for community professionals that's out there to take a look at. Yeah, I really like the idea of having the email digest that comes out, especially on a weekly basis. A lot of associations, people are committed to the mission, but a daily gets a little bit too busy.
Yep.
And having that weekly, especially associations, communities of practice, That's kind of a pretty good heartbeat of activity to get a weekly update of what's the latest stuff. What did I miss this week? What can I get in there for? And I do look, as a matter of course, for the ability to reply via email in platforms too. I think that's quickly become table stakes for a lot of organizations.
Yeah, definitely. And it works really well, right? We do the daily digest because it works. We see the open rate on those is huge. And we see the reply via email as one of the primary ways people reply. We see a lot of, you can tell because their email signatures at the bottom of the reply. So a lot of people are using that just because it's easy, right? We don't want to make it hard for people to participate in the community.
Yeah. So you said there were three areas. The second one was that automation or
The second one was AI and such, right? So
oh yes.
including AI into our community, just allowing people to ask questions. What is the value of an online community? I love it. AI doesn't judge you for bad spelling. That's one of my favorite
Yeah.
things about AI. So what we did is we said, look, there's lots of knowledge in the community, and there's lots of times where we're getting the same question over and over again, and there's people who are just too shy to ask, but they want that answer. I always go back to that old, you remember the forum days where somebody would ask a question and the GIF would come up like use the search bar. Like this
Yeah.
is the new search bar we want to use, right? No one's reading through 500 posts on the forum from 10 years ago to find the answer. They just want AI to summarize it. So our AI leverages the data from the community and the larger ecosystem we'll talk about in a minute to answer people's questions. But we don't see AI as pulling members out of the community and discussions. We see it as a primary way to get conversations going. So I moved from that AI driven search to now I'm posting in the community using AI in real time, right? So the first line of defense is ask a question and see what that answer is. But the second part of this is, hey, you probably want some opinions and you want to talk to your peers. Go ahead and post to the community and ask everybody what their thoughts are. So this is one example of many use cases we've put in the community. Our strategy with AI is to make it easy for members to find what they're looking for. But you'll see on the admin side, our strategy with AI is to help the community manager run their community, whether it's auto tagging things, helping them upload documents, or helping them run our automation, which is that third big pillar I'll get to next.
Yeah, I love that. And just I'll kind of note here, one of the things that I'm always looking for with AI generated answers are the sources cited? Is this showing me where in the community this information was surfaced and by whom? Like, is the AI helping me to connect to other humans as opposed to just synthesizing an answer based on stuff and then not being terribly transparent about it? So I appreciate the ethical approach to this work.
We've even got it plugged in where if you ask it, how do I make tacos? It goes, I don't know how to make tacos. No one's ever talked about that here. So we've told our AI that if it can't cite the source on where it got that, just say, I don't know. I'd rather you say, I don't know the answer, and we can ask the community. And the next time it comes around, we'll have a good answer than just make something up. So we do our best not to have it make things up and hallucinate.
This is a sophisticated approach to using AI in communities. And I know that Higher Logic has been one of the organizations at the forefront of thinking about how we thoughtfully implement this technology into what is essentially a human-to-human, high-touch kind of online experience.
I think that's a critical component of how we're using AI. Use cases are not strategy. And I mentioned this, we have several use cases in the community on how AI fits, but the use case was built to drive strategy. It was built to close a gap. A great example is tagging. Like people are just bad at tagging their documents and discussions. They tend not to do it. So we said, hey, can AI fill that gap? Something humans aren't typically good at. We can ask AI to do it, but we're not trying to have AI answer every question in the community 10 minutes after it was posted. We want other humans to answer that. So we're intentionally not asking AI to do those tasks because we still think those are primary tasks that humans should be doing.
I love that. That's great. And for the community manager that that is thinking about how to implement this in the community, do they have some control about how it's actually turned on within their particular instance?
Heck yeah, they do. So all of our AI features are rolling out turned off. You don't have to use them if you don't want. And I work with organizations who, for many reasons, aren't ready to start using AI. So the AI features are all individually turned on, meaning I can turn on the AI assistant or the video transcription. I can do the bulk upload or the tagging one at a time. The other thing is I can tune how these work. So if I'm going to turn that AI assistant on, do I want some sort of custom image? Mine's Floyd the Frog. He's our mascot. What do I want it to say? What type of text should it display? Is there a disclaimer? but also who should be able to use this, right? So the way we've created this is you can actually go in here and say, which type of users are allowed to use our AI assistant? And you can say, we as admin want to test this out. Maybe we want to roll this out to people who have group memberships and pay more, or people who are in this specific, we call them security groups. So you have the ability to tune those and to roll them out one at a time. You also have the ability to create custom agents. And this is where it gets a little bit nerdy, but you have the ability to generate your own prompt engineering for specific AI agents. So you can say, this agent should only answer questions about the annual conference, and it should only pull its answers from this area of our community. So instead of saying AI can answer any question about anything, you can narrow that focus and say, we want specific agents to answer questions in specific ways. And then you take these widgets and you embed them on those pages. So we made a page here introducing Floyd. We tell you how our AI works because people are concerned. We give you some disclaimers on what the common questions are. And this one answers all questions. But it might be common to say, hey, we have a non-members community. I want to tell people what's going on in here and encourage them to join, but I don't want to give away the value of being a member. Just tease them with content. Don't give them everything. So you can tune all of our AI and use it as you see fit. And then we're always upfront. Whenever AI does something, we'll put our AI sparkle there. You'll see that in a minute, or we'll say this was generated by AI, just to make sure that we're always being upfront about it. This was an AI-driven answer.
Fantastic. So as far as other uses of AI in the platform, do you have it set up for example, moderation purposes?
Thrive doesn't have AI-driven moderation as of yet. When you talk to Matt later today, you'll learn Vanilla does have AI-driven moderation. And the reason is it's just not a huge pull and request from our customers. We have lots of moderation in the community already, whether it's specific watchwords we're moderating or it's specific users being moderated. We also have the ability to do moderation in real time. I think one of the reasons we don't see moderation as a huge challenge in our community is, sorry, I'm jumping around. The people who post in the community are members of the group. We're typically integrating them from some sort of database of record. I am not really posting anonymously. I'm not using social sign-in to generate a fake account so I can spam it. So moderation in the Thrive communities isn't as important as it might be on something like a Reddit or an open forum where I'm a username posting. I think the fact that I post as Greg changes the need to be moderating the content, because it's not common for a recognized person who pays membership dues to be a part of this to say crazy stuff in the community.
Yeah, 100%. The big difference between B2B and nonprofits and just sort of open discussion forum, spaces, an open Reddit, you get a different quality of participation in those spaces, and more people are concerned about how others might perceive them in those spaces, so they're a little more careful about what they offer.
You nailed it there. Yep.
Really cool. I'd love to spend a little time looking at the automation as well. Show me how that works.
Yeah, so the automation works in two ways, and I'll give you the backstory on this. When we first started HireLogic, we noticed some of our customers were wildly successful, and other customers struggled to get engagement going. And we went out and asked them, we said, what's the difference? And the difference was organizations had a dedicated human every day thinking about the community. We said, that's just not scalable. You can't replicate that across every organization. You also can't do that if you have 100,000 people in your community. It's just not possible. So we first came out with what's called the automation rules. And the automation rules are sort of if-then statements that do something for you. It could add a digital ribbon to someone's profile. Todd, you came to our event. Here's a badge on your profile. It can add people to a community. It can add observed interest. But it also started to email people. And when we built these automated workflows, something like new to community, to add ribbons to people's profiles and to email them and to track them. This was very good, and people used these a lot. In fact, something very simple like welcoming members to your community and encouraging them to make their first post in our Introduce Yourself thread, these are really popular. And you could really go in here and say, okay, I want to encourage people to introduce themselves if they're a member of the community and they were added between 7 and 14 days, and I want to calculate who's going to get that and send them this template. And this was really good for people who wanted to take the time and turn these on and configure these and monitor these and make sure they were working. But we again wanted to say, how do we make this even easier? So we created something called Smart Campaigns. And again, there's our AI logo showing up. So the idea behind Smart Campaigns is There's a task I want to get done in the community, but I don't want to be a part of all the detailed planning of the who and the what and the how. I just want to turn it on and have it go. And the busier you get, the more appealing this as a solution appears, right? I
Yeah.
don't want to take the time to plan out the solution. I just want it to do that thing so I can move on with my life. And these smart campaigns come out of the box ready to go. So something like, let's encourage more people to post. That seems like a great idea. It's going to target these people. Success looks like this. The campaign is built out. We're going to check to see if they did it or not and follow up. All of the messages are pre-written and ready to go. And if I want more people to post in my community, I just click activate and I'm done. That's all I have to do. The first message is going to go out Thursday morning. Life is good. We added this because the automation rules were more of a barrier to entry for people who were just passive community managers.
Yeah.
But the other thing is we're tuning this at scale. So you're not just using your data to tune this. We send out 1.5 billion emails a month. It's a lot. We're using that data to figure out what is the best possible campaign. How long should we wait? What should this message even say? What's the call to action we should have there? So we really believe heavily in automation, specifically when you get to these larger communities or when our customers have less staff to be able to invest in running the community one-on-one. Now, that being said, some of our best community managers love automation rules because it makes one community manager look like a whole team of people, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you posted in the community yesterday, but you didn't have a profile photo, and you got a follow up from the person who runs the community. Hi, this is Greg. I'm the community manager here. I wanted to personally thank you for making your first post, but I wanted to let you know you're more likely to get an answer if you had a profile photo. Could you upload that for me? That call to action is wildly successful. But again, a person's not going to run that report every morning and send out those emails. We need to automate that process.
As someone who's been on that side of the fence and had to manage some of that manual outreach, you do it when you have time. When you don't have time, it's something that gets left to the wayside, and so you end up like feeling bad about not being able to keep up with that. So having not only the automations, which are powerful, and as you said, could be a barrier to entry for somebody that doesn't do community management every day and isn't willing to get nerdy with going in and building those things. Having the pre-built, I'll call them recipes, in place, just kind of run. I tell you, when I saw that listing, my heart beat a little bit faster because I was like, oh, that's a really nice thing to see.
Recipes is the exact term we use for these. And today, our smart campaigns send emails. But as these get more mature, they're going to start doing things inside the community. They're going to be agentive, where they can actually take action for you. It's not just going to be email Todd and ask him to participate. It's going to be like, well, add Todd to the community and then find 3 friends that he should meet with and ask him to do this thing. Like, it's going to follow each one of those steps. This is just the beginning framework we launched in the last couple months.
Really great, really great. I love this. So thanks for doing the overview of those. I'm wondering if we could maybe switch gears a little bit and talk about sort of how the analytics look on the back end. Like, how can I tell how the community is doing? What is someone managing this? Like, what does good look like? And before I forgot, I wanted to ask you. Just sort of said, like, with larger communities, what does Higher Logic consider to be a larger sized community?
That's good. I would go back to our benchmarking report and double check for you. I would say for me, large communities have over 5,000 members. I would call that a large community where one open forum is not going to sustain our engagement. We're going to need lots of smaller sub communities to get really in the details. But obviously, communities for us can be hundreds of thousands of members. There's no limit on our technology on how many people can be in there. I find it's kind of a balance, because if you have too small of a community, there's not enough people to have a conversation. But if you have too large of a community, the message kind of gets washed out. And is this really right for me?
Yeah.
We find the smaller the group, the more active they are, because it's people who really care about that topic versus having just one large group with 100,000 people in there. It's going to be very hard to have real conversations. There's going to be a lot of noise in that signal.
Yeah. No, I love that orientation. Just for people that maybe aren't thinking about communities every day, like you and I are, it's helpful for them to understand, like, well, how big is that breadbasket? What are we talking about here?
I also find communities with 20 people in them can be wildly successful if those 20 people care about talking with each other and collaborating. Many organizations we work with, they have committees. And the goal of their community might not be a big tent community where everybody's in an open forum talking. You might have 20 committees, each one has 20 people on it, and they're doing business on a regular basis. They're sharing discussions, they have a calendar, they have a file system. Like, that's a really good use case for a community. And I would say it's not too small if you have a reason for those people to collaborate on a regular basis.
Agreed. Agreed. Love that. So what are we looking at here on the analytics side?
Yeah, so analytics is really important for us. As I mentioned, we track all of the data that's happening. Obviously, this is a demo system, so there's not real conversations going on. But
Right.
everything from what's happening in my community to which discussions are happening or who's a first-time poster. I need to know details on our users. I want to know what events are going on and what's happening in our marketing. Remember, we're sending emails, so we want to track those conversions. Inside of the software, there's probably 100 or so different reports you can run that are designed to answer very specific questions. What are our communities doing and which ones are popular? Are people accessing documents in the libraries? Who's posting and what are they saying when they post things? All of these are built out and ready to go. What I love about these is you can also schedule these. So every Monday, I want an Excel spreadsheet with a list of people who joined and left the community. I want that delivered to me in my inbox, so I can do something with it. I really believe that there's kind of two types of community reports. One, I'll say, is for the community manager to measure the health of the community. And that's where Higher Logic's native reports are great. I think the other type of reporting that's tremendously valuable with community is when we take our community data and we blend it together with our business data. And this can help justify why community is important. This can help other people use community. And for this, we built something called Activity Sync. And the idea behind this is I have a database somewhere else, and I want my community data to be present there. I want it in my AMS or my CRM. I want it in Salesforce. I want it in my Snowflake database or my data warehouse. And the idea is we will push data from the community to those places. And there's 153 things we think are interesting that you can send there. So a great question you might have is, do people who use the community renew at a higher rate, or do they spend more with me? Well, if I have the renewal rate data in this system and I have the community data in this system, we've got to jam those together to answer that question. Is my community valuable if the business leaders want to increase member retention? And in order to do that, we have this tool called Activity Sync, where you would pick and choose these fields and send them there. And then you'd be able to do that reporting in the system of record that has the rest of your data. So that's an important piece of the puzzle, is not just what's happening in the community, but how is the community impacting the rest of our business? Because community is not a standalone thing we do on the side. It's a part of everything we do when done correctly. And I think our reporting should reflect on that as well.
And that's been a perennial issue with community platforms, was that they were sort of like off on their own little island, doing their thing. And now with the ability to export that data to make it more easily shareable with dashboards or data warehouses, we can truly integrate the insight that we gain from these really valuable spaces into the rest of the enterprise to just sort of understand how it's doing. So that's great to see. I'll ask the catch-all question. What have I missed? What haven't we chatted about so far? Any other kind of standout pieces that you'd like to maybe call a little bit of attention to that have been appealing to customers?
Yeah, one we didn't talk about is this idea of a larger ecosystem with the community at the center. So we've studied this, and we know the more relevant things you can give people to do in the community, the more likely they are to come and participate. When communities first started, a community was a discussion forum, right? And then all of a sudden we started playing Candy Crush and Farmville in our communities, and we had events and we had all this other stuff. And it's like, is that community? And the answer is, yeah, to some people, that's how they want to participate in community. I want to go to Todd's farm and help him collect his crops today, right? That's how I want to participate in the community. It doesn't just have to be a discussion forum. Now, that's a silly answer, right? We're not playing Farmville in our professional communities. But the idea that there are other relevant things to do when I get here is a really important part of our strategy. So we think it's an engagement platform with community at the core. And we offer mentoring, volunteering, mobile. You can connect an entire learning management system to this. You can do submissions and video generation. I mentioned jobs already, resources and libraries. We think the more activities you can give your community user to do, the more likely they are to come and participate. And all of that data is natively tracked in HireLogic as well. So if I went to your learning management system and took a course called Greener Bakeries, like you should fire an automation rule that puts a badge on my profile that says I just took that course. You should probably add me to a community of other bakers who are interested in sustainability and encourage me to have a conversation with them. So the idea is if we can create this larger ecosystem, the community becomes more valuable. And if we can collect the data from what happens in that ecosystem and automate it and follow through with it, that user's experience can be much more connected, right? And that's one of the things Thrive does really well is out of the box, we can connect these systems. You can actually license them from us. If you want to get a full learning management system from us, you can do that. It comes out of the box with the integrations pre-built, and learners can engage in full coursework right as a part of HireLogic. So that ability to extend the value of community and personalize it for what is your community experience going to look like, that's a really important part of our software. The other important part of partnering with us, and we had mentioned our community hug, is we're not in the business of just giving you software and saying, figure this out. We want to be your partner in the community space. And in fact, it was important for us early on to be a thought leader in the community space because there wasn't a discipline called community management back in the day, right? It didn't exist 20 years ago. So we had to really make sure we were leading that conversation. So everything from how do I launch a community? Like, what are the literal steps to launch a community? And what are the examples of how to run those steps? Like, you mean I have to have seed content in my community when I turn it on? Well, like, if you want it to work, you should, right? You should have a moderation plan. Well, people are going to say stuff. You should promote your community. This blows people's minds when you're like, you can't just turn it on and expect them to know about it. It's like, no, you have to have a promotional campaign. Now, we have out of the box promotional campaigns, but we want you to personalize it. We want you to think about it from your perspective. So I think an important part is HireLogic is a participant in the discipline of good community management, not only providing the software to help do that, but what's the strategy to be successful with communities?
Yep.
I think one big differentiator between us and every platform out there is we power successful communities, right? And the reason is we don't just give it to you and hope you figure it out. We want to walk you through what success looks like, and we want to make sure you're getting the value you hope to get out of the community at the end of the day.
100%. And that work, I think, is augmented in a couple of ways that you pointed out. One is the hug space that you have is a place for peer support, asking a question, understanding what other people have done, getting ideas and creativity, from that process. The other piece is all of the thought leadership. I mean, HireLogic has been around for a long time, and there's a great deal of thought leadership and frameworks there. There's the super forum that you guys do every year that's powerful as well. And then there's the partnership model that you have with people like me who are dyed-in-the-wool strategists that love the space, love the work that we do, so that if you have longer term, more nuanced needs, that's something that somebody like me can come in and help with, especially if you're looking at a platform like this and you're saying, oh my gosh, this is like looking at like a nuclear submarine. How do I manage all the options of this? Well, not just that you have HireLogic and a professional services team that's going to help you with the implementation, but you have options for support and consultative help beyond that to help you put together a plan for success for all of that work.
I think that's a really important part. I've sort of shown the kitchen sink today, everything involved, because I want you to get to a picture of what a very mature community looks like. But most clients don't start with everything turned on, right? We don't launch our communities. Typically, we go live one step at a time. We don't launch our communities when it's finally done and every I is dotted and every T is crossed. We turn our communities on with smaller groups and expand the use case and get bigger over time, right? When you look at successful platforms that aren't your private community, they add features all the time. They add ways to engage in the community all the time. And I don't want you to pick a partner where you're limited. They only offer forums, right? And then you get your forum up and running. You go, well, I wish they had other stuff people could do. I want you to consider that we're going to start with our forum and we're going to grow to gamification. And then we're going to grow to smaller groups. And then we're going to add physical events. And then we're going to have virtual chapters. And then we're going to have Ask Me Anythings. And then we're going to have videos and I want you to consider that it's a phased approach to grow your community one step over time, that you don't have to be overwhelmed and say, this is trying to boil the ocean on day one. Let's pick the low-hanging fruit and start there, and let's build over time with what community means for you and what community means for your members.
Totally agree. So thank you for the view of this. This has been amazing. Some questions then about getting started with
Yeah.
HireLogic. Do you have a professional services team that helps with this implementation process? Like, what does that look like if somebody does sign with you and maybe they've got to do a migration from another platform that they've been on before?
Yeah. First of all, I was blown away when I learned that you buy a community platform and then you buy a implementation partner to turn it on for you. Like when I first learned that that was a thing, it blew my mind because I'm so used to like, no, the company you bought it from helps you turn it on and set it up the way you want it, right? So yes, when you license Thrive, a professional services team helps implement and turn on the software. You're going to have one primary point of contact that's supported by a team of technologists and strategists and designers. We can offer services if you'd like. We can do full design on your community. We can help you turn things on. We can even be your community manager if you want. Now, I don't want to be in the business of running your community. I want you to do that. But if you need that additional help, not a problem. Or if you were looking for a consultant in the industry, we work really well with consultants who do run communities. And if you're not going to run it yourself, I'd encourage you to hire someone to do that. We do data migration, not a problem. If you have an existing community platform, you're moving, we have data migration pathways. Some platforms that a lot of people are leaving right now in droves, we actually have automated migration platforms for because we're seeing such an influx and transition from those. But we also want to consider launching a new community platform is a really good opportunity to take the fresh start approach. From a strategy standpoint, I don't think you should take everything from your old house and put it in a box and put it in your new house. We should really consider, does that couch fit with my new look and feel? Like, do I really need that couch I bought in college? Is that the best use of my living room today? It might not be. It's probably a really good idea to shop for a new sofa. So we can certainly migrate the data, but I also think it's an opportunity to take a fresh approach. I also think it's an opportunity to look at what does this platform do really well that maybe your last platform didn't do. Maybe it didn't have automation, or maybe it didn't offer the gamification we have. And it's an opportunity to consider how can the feature set HireLogic offers really get me to my goal? Because we're launching community for a goal. And if we're going to do that, we say, what are the features we should turn on? And how do we tune those features to reach that goal? And our team will help you with it. You'll talk to other customers in Hug. You'll come to our Super Forum event and meet hundreds of other people who've done it for years. And that'll be the onboarding process most customers get. Not everybody wants to talk to a support person. Some people want to watch a video. Some people want to read the document. So we try and give all of the different perspectives on how do I learn how to use this, learn the way you want.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. That's great. As far as implementation times go, from the very simplest, like if we're talking about a small community of 50, 100 people, no prior data to move over, anything like that, turning on and getting a community like that set up with your team, like what's a realistic time frame for that versus a larger community, hundreds of thousands of members, legacy data to cleanse and reevaluate and move over into the new house.
Yeah.
What should my expectations be as far as like an order of magnitude for those two cases?
On average, most clients take about 3 months to go live. There's about 40 hours of your time in that 3 months, back and forth meetings. It's not a really big technical project. We don't need you to write API code or design stuff or know JavaScript. It's really a social project. What are your groups? What are the tags? What badges should Greg have on his profile when he gets here? We can technically turn the software on in a week, but you can't move that fast to get everything up and running in a week. And then on those larger projects, we certainly have engagements that take 6 months. We also have engagements that take 2 or 3 years because they're launching things phased at a time. We want to move this piece over and have it up and running by our annual conference. We want to have this major component turned on next. Then we want to build this component. So some of our customers intentionally take multiple years to launch the community because they want to do it one piece at a time. Again, we can move as fast as you want to move. But what we find is taking a slower, measured approach and letting data tell you what's working or not is really important. Yeah. We thought this feature was going to work really well, and we turned it on and no one used it. Did we not promote it? Do our members not want to do that thing? Sometimes members don't want what you want in community, and our job is to pay attention and use that data to sort of direction correct as we're moving through.
So, Greg, is that as you bring that up, does that mean that certain elements like learning management systems or other kinds of elements of the platform are priced separately? Is that like an a la carte approach to what I turn on in the community?
It is, yeah. Adopting the community is step one. And then determining which elements of that community make sense for you builds the pricing. It also builds our phased approach. So most people start with community. You can also start with marketing if you want. We're not talking to marketing experts today, though. We're talking to community people. So most people start with community, and then they say, well, I do want to run a mentoring. I do want that learning component, but I don't want that on day one because that's not my minimum lovable product I want to launch with. My goal is to get the community up and running by X date. Let's focus on that. You can grow and add things over time with us.
That's great. That's great. And then to the extent to which we can talk about this in generalities, it sounds like it's a fully featured platform, right? Sounds costly. Like what are we looking at here for licensing fees versus implementation versus like, do you do multi-year contracts? Is there special pricing if you're a nonprofit? There's a host of questions that I think, people that are maybe interested in this platform may have, and this is not the appropriate venue to get into a lot of detail about that. But if there's anything order of magnitude you could share with me, or like, is the software upper 5 figures, lower 6 figures for licensing? Like where do we live, for pricing for something like this?
Yeah, we try and price it at the right price for your organization, right? So we look at your organization, not number of members, just like how large you are, and we price it accordingly. So it starts for our small orgs as low as $10,000 a year, right? And then for our larger orgs, they're paying $50, $60, $100,000 a year. Some of our massive enterprises are paying millions of dollars a year because they're using a lot of our software, they're using our services and our support, and they've grown into a product at that level. Most organizations come in at the $20,000 to $30,000 mark when they're all in and they're buying all the stuff and all the bells and whistles are turned on they're looking for. There is a one-time implementation fee, and then there's an annual licensing fee. Our pricing is designed for not-for-profits because that's where we started. Mm-hmm. My favorite question is that our not-for-profit pricing? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is.
All of it is. Yeah. Right.
Right? I can tell you $1 million. That's our not-for-profit pricing. And then there are discounts for multi-year agreements. Listen, if you want to buy a community and run it for 6 months, I don't think we're the right platform to invest in. Right?
I don't know that anyone is. Like they're long-term investments for an organization and part of the go-to-market. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be moving every couple of years to a new platform, which raises another question. Like if someone needs to move off of HireLogic elsewhere, like you have data portability as one of the options. Like, can I get my full data to move out of the platform if I have to?
You certainly can. So sorry to see you go, but we want you to be happy when you leave. Data is important. You own all the data. You can access that data at any time. We can just give you a big data dump of that data so you have access to it. That's not a problem. We also have an option. People's budgets are being put in question right now, and we have the option to turn your community off, but keep it around. The idea is we don't want to delete your community because we're going through some tough times, Todd, and we can't support community right now. But I think in a year or two, we'll be back on track. And we just want to put it in like hibernation mode.
Yeah.
So based on the economy and what our customers are telling us right now, they don't have the budget, but they want a community. They don't want to go buy another platform. We're offering this sort of deep freeze where we're keeping the data around, and we're not deleting it, but it's not publicly available anymore. So that's an option we've introduced based on our customers asking for it.
And last tough question I'll ask you is based on some things we've seen in the last year or so, where some platforms have been sold to others, and that's not necessarily created a lot of confidence among those customers, and they're looking to move off. How is HireLogic set up and funded? Do you have private equity backing? Like what is the stability of the company right now? How likely is it that there's going to be a sale in like the next year? Because if I'm going to invest and I want a multi-year platform for myself, that's going to be a concern, I think, for anybody coming into the picture.
This is key when making any determination. HireLogic as a company is a community company first, meaning we're not going to change our product direction and change from it to being a community to an experience to a cloud that's not a community anymore at all, right? We're not a company that does other things and is dipping our toe into community. We're a company that does community. We were founded by the owners and the CEO who still work here today 17 years ago. They bootstrapped the company from the ground up for about 10 years. We did take a private equity investment, which was growth equity, and that allowed us to expand the platform to what you see today. That allowed us to invest in other tools and bring them on board. That marketing automation system you saw is an acquisition we made, right? Our goal is not to sell the company or to leave anytime soon. We want to be the #1 provider of online communities throughout the world. With the Thrive and the vanilla platforms, our goal is not to sell out or to cash in, right? Our founders and owners love running the company, which is great. Our CEO, Rob, is a technologist. He's excited to build AI tools. He tells me he wakes up in the middle of the night and thinks about an AI tools and starts writing code for it. Like, this is not the guy who's going to sell the company anytime soon to somebody else who doesn't want to be a community provider, right?
Knowing him a little bit, I can see him doing that. Yeah, that's
100%. 100%. Yeah. So we're not going anywhere. We want to be that long-term stable player. Because you said you don't want your community platform to change or go away. And that's our goal.
Yeah, I love that. Greg, you've been a wonderful sport letting me put you through the ringer with some of these questions. I definitely appreciate this. Anybody who's stuck with us through this interview, if it's interesting to you, if you want to get a direct demo, you'll see there's a QR code up here in the oobly-doo. That's a quick way for you to scan and set up an appointment to have a walk through the platform, get your specific questions answered. If there was a question that you had in the course of watching this video and we didn't ask it, please add it to the comments below. Either I will get an answer for you, or we'll get Greg or someone from the team to jump in and answer a question for you for this. But I hope this was informative to you if you've been able to tune in today and watch this demo. And I also encourage you to watch the other demos in this series. In particular, we've got Vanilla. That's going to be another one of the offerings here, which is also offered by HireLogic. And we'll have a deep dive on that one as well to see if it's right for you. What other platforms should we look at in the course of this series? I'm always happy to nerd out and talk about all the different options on the market. My research has identified over 130 platforms, live and legacy, that are still out there in the interwebs. So it can be overwhelming to make a right choice. And so that's the entire reason to do this series, is to help you get to a better point where you can make a decision about which ones are right for you. In the meantime, Greg, thanks again so much for being on the show. Appreciate you and the mission and everything that HireLogic is doing.
Thanks, Todd, for having me. Thanks, everybody, for sticking it out and making it all the way through. Hope you saw some really cool stuff there. And if you want to have a follow-up conversation, let us know. We want to talk community with everybody.
Sounds great. And in the meantime, please keep building great communities. We'll see you back here again for the next episode in the series.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Bye, everyone.